Welcome back to MinnesotaBlack RobeRegiment channel. What I want to talk about in this video is probably going to cause a little bit of an uproar with some of the people who have subscribed to my channel thus far and others who watch my videos and have been supportive. There's been a lot of talk over the last few weeks about the use of the Insurrection Act or the imposition of martial law in certain states over what has been perceived as malfeasance during the last general vote, if you will. I am not going to sit here and deny that there has been malfeasance. I'm not going to assert that there's been malfeasance. I think that the evidence could be there. That's not the gist of what I want to talk about. What I want to talk about is a little bit of the cognitive dissonance that's been going on with patriots and constitutionalists. Many of the people who I have been glad to align myself with since the middle of March, and some even before that, but especially since the middle of March, many of the people who are the most upset about measures that are being taken by disproportionately large percentage of Democrat governors to address the pandemic of C-19 are also now calling on President Donald Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act or martial law. I have come out very vocally and said, look, I oppose this. It's not for a lack of wanting the president to get back into office during the inauguration here in January. That's not the case at all. My reason for opposing the imposition of the Insurrection Act or martial law is that it flies in the face of everything that I've been fighting for since middle of March in particular. Let me say it this way. News broke today, how reliable it is or isn't, I do not know, that Minnesota could be a state targeted for martial law by the president. Now, I would be upset if it was any state, but what I want to point out is that the imposition of martial law on Minnesota to address the current election cycle events is not going to make things better for us here in Minnesota. On the off chance that Governor Walz is arrested and imprisoned, on the off chance that Keith Ellison is arrested and imprisoned, we're still under martial law, okay? We need to understand that. Now, we're not under martial law right now, and somebody mocked me earlier for talking about that, and they said, well, you don't have your liberties. Look, my life has not changed in the sense of I haven't lost any of my liberties. I still, if I hadn't lost my firearms in a horrible and tragic boating accident, nor had I had to sell all of my firearms to pay all my bills during the COVID-19 pandemic, I haven't lost the ability to have my firearms. I haven't lost the ability of free speech, thus videos like this. I haven't lost habeas corpus. I haven't been forced to house troops in my home as of yet. I haven't lost the freedom from unreasonable searches and seizures. I have been able to keep the protections in line to protect my life, my liberty, and my private property. All of those, the First, Second, Third, Fourth, and Fifth Amendments, under martial law, would be stripped from us. It would be not only feasible that if martial law were enacted in a state like Minnesota, because there's some questions about the validity of some certain things, if they send in troops, they're not going to go, okay, who did you vote for? Or who did you not vote for? Or who did you support? Or did you vote? Or what's your position? They're going to impose that on everyone. Do you understand that? They're going to impose that on everyone. That means if you get caught outside without the right clearance, you could be arrested, detained, thrown into a camp with no end in sight, even if you're a patriot. Your guns could be stripped away from you, never to be returned, even if you're a patriot. You will not have to be hauled in front of a judge to have a reasonable bond set. Not that the state of Minnesota sets reasonable bonds on anybody anymore. Trust me, I see it on a regular basis. Bonds are punitive and meant more than anything to keep people detained instead of getting them out and back to their lives. But imagine completely stripping away from the American citizenry in Minnesota the ability to have a bond set because you don't have to get a person in front of a judge. That's what martial law would entail. Look, they're not going to come in and establish martial law against governors and attorney generals and the DFL in Minnesota. They're going to establish martial law against everyone to make sure they control everyone. And I would understand that under martial law. But the problem is we don't need to support having our civil rights eliminated because our guy didn't win, or just so our guy can win. Look, if arrests need to be made, let them be made. And let them be made by men with guns. And if that comes down to a firefight, as much as I'd hate it to see the loss of life for anyone, let it be. But no, do not advocate for President Trump coming in and, for lack of better terminology, taking over the state. As I've said so many times, and as so many fellow patriots and constitutionalists have said since March, once the government starts to take something from you, they don't walk it back. They don't give it back. We have to understand that. It's just the way it is. So think this through. I know you all want Trump in office. I get it. I understand. I want him in office too. I am not terrified, but I am concerned by what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will do to this country. But make no mistake, Trump invoking martial law, invoking the Insurrection Act to stay in office, even where it's legitimate, is a very dangerous thing for the liberty of freedom-loving constitutionalists here in the United States. It's the next step towards tyranny. There's not much else I can say about it. We have to be consistent. Yes, I want him to stay in office. No, I am not willing to give up all of my liberty just so that happens. We'd be exchanging one form of tyranny for another. And that's not acceptable. Sic Semper Tyrannis.